The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Hi friends, this is me Payal Dutta, and in today's video I'm going to help you with the line by line explanation of Act 1 Scene 1 from William Shakespeare's play The Merchant of Venice. Please hit the like button if you like my video and don't forget to subscribe. So now we will begin. Act 1 Scene 1 Venice, a street. Now, before beginning any act, you must know the scene, location, and characters present. While framing your answers, apart from knowing the drama and the dramatist, mentioning the act, scene, and location helps in getting extra marks. But if you are unsure, then please don't mention them at all. So, here we have Antonio, the merchant of the play's title. We find him with his friends Solanio and Salario. So, Antonio, in sooth I know not why I am so sad. It wearies me, you say, it wearies you. But how I got it, found it, or came by it, what stuff 'tis made of, whereof it is born, I am to learn. And such a want with sadness makes of me, that I have much ado to know myself. So, from the opening speech of Antonio, we get to know that Antonio is sad. He says, "In sooth, I know not why I am so sad." That implies that he is completely unaware of why he is sad. In sooth means truly. It wearies me, you say, it wearies you. You here refers to his friends Salario and Solanio. Antonio is sad because of some unknown reason, and trying to figure out why he is sad makes him weary or tired. But how I caught it, found it, or came by it. It here refers to his sadness. What stuff 'tis made of, whereof it is born, I am to learn. He says that he does not know from where he got this sadness, what stuff 'tis made of, that is, the reason for his sorrows, whereof it is born, the root of his sadness, I am to learn, implying that he does not know. And such a want with sadness makes of me, that I have much ado to know myself. He says that because of this unknown want with, that is foolish sadness, he is finding it difficult to understand himself. Ado means trouble. Now, seeing Antonio's miserable condition, his friends Salario and Solanio try to make him laugh. So Salario says, "Your mind is tossing on the ocean, there where your argosies with portly sail, like seigneurs and rich burghers on the flood, or, as it were, the pageants of the sea, do overpeer the petty traffickers, that courtesy to them, do them reverence, as they fly by them with their woven wings." So, according to Salario, Antonio is thinking about his merchant ships that are on the sea. There were your argosies. Argosies means merchant ships with portly sail, referring to the commercial boats. Like seigneurs and rich burghers. Seigneurs are gentlemen and burghers mean citizens. Your Salario compares Antonio's rich ships, which are rich with merchandise, to rich citizens, or as it were the pageants of the sea. Pageants refer to carts decorated that are found in carnivals. The rich ships in which Antonio has invested are as grand as pageants. Do overpeer the petty traffickers. The petty traffickers are the commercial boats. That courtesy to them. That refers to the boats, and them refers to the merchant ships. Do them reverence as they fly by them with their woven wings. Salario says that the boats bobbing up and down seem to show respect to Antonio's merchant ships. Then Solanio says, "Believe me, sir, had I such a venture forth, the better part of my affection would be with my hopes abroad. I should be still plucking the grass to know where sits the wind. peering in maps for ports and piers and roads, and every object that might make me fear. Misfortune to my ventures, out of doubt, would make me sad. Sir here refers to Antonio. Solanio tells Antonio that if he had a venture forth, that is, his ships were on a venture, the better part of his affections, that is, his concerns, would be with his ships and hopes abroad. Hopes because he invested on those merchant ships. He says that if he were in Antonio's place, he would pluck the grass to see the direction of the wind to predict the weather condition. He would look into maps for ports and harbors, and the only thing that could make him sad would be misfortune to his ventures. Now, to this Salerio replies, my wind cooling my broth would blow me to an arg when I thought, what harm a wind too great might do at sea. He means to say that when he cools his soup, the movement of the soup with his breath would make him shiver, because it would remind him of what harm a wind too great could do at sea. I should not see the sandy hourglass run, but I should think of shallows and of flats, and see my wealthy Andrew docked in sand, wailing her high top lower than her ribs to kiss her burial. Salerio tells Antonio that he would not see the sandy hourglass. He would rather think about the shallows. The shallows refer to the shallow waters, and the flats, that is the sandbanks, and watch his wealthy Andrew. Now, Andrew is a very common name given to ships, and Andrew is the name of the ship in which he invested. So he would watch his wealthy Andrew docked in sand, lowering her mast. Her ribs here refer to the wooden sides of the ship, to kiss her burial, implying the sand. The image here is that of a ship overturned, with her top sails lower than her mast. The top sails seem to kiss the ground, which is the place of the ship's burial. Should I go to church and see the holy edifice of stone, and not bethink me straight of dangerous rocks, which, touching but my gentle vessel's side, would scatter all her spices on the stream, and robe the roaring waters with my silk? Salerio says that the holy edifice of stone shall remind him of the dangerous rocks at sea, and what harm it could do. The huge rocks might touch his gentle vessel's side. Now, gentle vessel here refers to both the merchant ship as well as the containers it holds. So, it would remind him of his gentle vessel's side and scatter all the cargo, clothing the sea with its silk. In a word, but even now worth this, and now worth nothing. So he says that when his cargo is safe, he has everything, but a misfortune to his venture can reduce his happiness in seconds. He goes on to say that if he had the imagination to think that such misfortune could fall on him, the thought of feeling sad and depressed would follow him too. But he is certain that Antonio is sad to think upon his ventures. So he says, shall I have the thought to think on this, and shall I lack the thought that such a thing be chanced would make me sad? But tell not me, I know Antonio is sad to think upon his merchandise. To this Antonio replies, believe me, no, I thank my fortune for it, stating that his ventures are not the reason for his present melancholy state, and he thanks his fortune, that is his wealth, for it. My ventures are not in one bottom thrusted, nor to one place, nor is my whole estate upon the fortune of this present year. Therefore, my merchandise makes me not sad. He goes on to say that his fortunes are not invested in a particular voyage, so even if one undergoes a misfortune, his other investments would help him to retain his position. When Antonio tells Salerio and Solanio that his merchandise does not make him sad, Solanio thinks Antonio is sad because he is in love. So he says, "Why then, you're in love?" Antonio, "Fie, fie," meaning nonsense. Salerio then concludes that Antonio is sad because he is not merry. He says, "Not in love neither. Then let us say you are sad because you are not merry, and 'twere as easy for you to laugh and leap, and say you are merry because you are not sad." He tells Antonio that he feels that he is sad because he is not merry. But if he tells himself that he is merry, then he shall not be sad any more. Salerio then goes on to describe the two kinds of people nature has created by alluding to Janus. Janus is a Roman god who has two faces which looks in opposite directions. One face is smiling and the other frowning. So Salerio says, "Now by two-headed Janus nature hath framed strange fellows in her time, some that will evermore peep through their eyes and laugh like parrots at a bagpiper, and other of such vinegar aspect that they'll not show their teeth in a way of smile, though Nestor swear the jest be laughable." He means to say that there are some people who wrinkle their faces in laughter so that their eyes appear to peep through the folds. They even laugh at the dreary noise of bagpipers like a brainless parrot. On the other hand, there are some people who do not smile at all. They don't smile even if Nestor, the most serious Greek general from the Trojan War, finds the joke to be funny. While Salerio and Solanio try to figure out the reason for Antonio's sadness, enters Bassanio, Antonio's best friend, along with his friends Lorenzo and Graciano. Solanio says, "Here comes Bassanio, your most noble kinsman, Graciano and Lorenzo. Fare ye well, we leave you now with better company." Solanio introduces Bassanio to the audience as Antonio's most noble kinsman. Kinsman means friend. He bids Antonio goodbye and decides to leave him with better company. Better because Bassanio is Antonio's best friend. Salerio then says, "I would have stayed till I had made you merry, if worthier friends had not prevented me." Meaning that he would have stayed till he had figured out why Antonio was sad. But now he too must leave because Antonio has found worthier friends, referring to Bassanio, Lorenzo, and Graciano. To this, Antonio says, "Your worth is very dear to my regard. I take it your own business calls on you, and you embraced the occasion to depart." He tells Salerio that even his worth is dear in his esteem, and he gladly accepts that Salerio must leave because his business needs him. Salerio, "Good morrow, my good lords." Bassanio, "Good seniors both, when shall we laugh? Say when, you grow exceedingly strange." "Must it be so?" Salerio, "We'll make our leisures to attend on yours." Exit Salerio and Solanio. So Salerio wishes Bassanio and his friends a good morning, to which Bassanio replies that they should meet more often, because they grow exceedingly strange, which means they are becoming more reserved. Salerio agrees to it and tells Bassanio that they shall have time to spare whenever Bassanio calls for them. And then Salerio and Solanio exit, leaving Antonio with new company. Lorenzo. My Lord Bassanio, since you have found Antonio, we too will leave you. But at dinner time, I pray you have in mind where we must meet. So, like Celerio and Solanio, Lorenzo too decides to leave Bassanio with Antonio and tells Bassanio not to forget to meet at dinner. To which Bassanio replies, I will not fail you, stating that he will not disappoint him. Looking at Antonio's miserable state, Gratiano says, You look not well, Signor Antonio. You have too much respect upon the world, meaning you worry about the world too much. They lose it that do buy it with much care. Believe me, you are marvelously changed. He means to say that they who spend a lot of time worrying about worldly matters such as happiness and success are never happy or successful. He tells him to believe me, you are marvelously changed. That is, there is a remarkable change in your appearance. To this, Antonio replies, I hold the world but as the world, Gratiano, a stage where every man must play a part, and mine a sad one. Here he means to say that he thinks of the world as it is, where every man has to play a role which is given to him, and he believes that his part is that of a sad one. Gratiano tells Antonio that in that case he'd play the role of a fool. He says, Let me play the fool with mirth and laughter, let old wrinkles come, and let my liver rather heat with wine than my heart cool with mortifying groans. He wishes to be merry even in his old age when wrinkles do appear. The Elizabethans believed that a liver heated by wine would produce rich blood and so a very lively personality. So Gratiano states that he would prefer his liver to heat with wine to his cold heart with killing groans. Here again Gratiano brings in the Elizabethan thought, who believed that sighs and groans caused blood to drain away from the heart. We come to know Gratiano enjoys a lively character when he goes on to say, Why should a man whose blood is warm within sit like his grandsire cut in alabaster, sleep when he is awake, and creep into jaundice by being peevish? Here he means to say that no lively person should sit like a white stone statue of his grandfather's tomb, or be still and silent during the day as if he were asleep, and enter into jaundice by being peevish. The Elizabethans thought jaundice was a disease caused due to jealousy, peevishness, and bad temper. I tell thee what, Antonio, I love thee, and 'tis my love that speaks. He goes on to tell Antonio that he is saying all this because he loves him. There are a sort of men whose visages do cream and mantle like a standing pond, and do a wilful stillness entertain, with purpose to be dressed in an opinion of wisdom, gravity, profound conceit, and who should say, I am Sir Oracle, and when I open my lips, let no dog bark. Here Gratiano talks about those men who deliberately cover their faces, their visages, in a mask as white and thick as a film on a stagnant pond, in order to gain repetition, a repetition of wisdom, gravity, personality, and deep thoughts. Gratiano means to say that those who pretend to be wise act as if they were to say they were Sir Oracle, and when they spoke, no one else should open their lips. Oracle refers to the Greek oracles. The oracle was the voice of the gods speaking through the priests. Gratiano mocks the pretentious wise men, saying, O my Antonio, I do know of these, that therefore only are reputed wise for saying nothing, when I am very sure if they should speak, would damn those ears, which hearing them would call their brothers fools. Here he means to say that those who have reputation for being wise have it only because they say nothing. If they were to speak, those damned ears are those listeners' ears, would call them fools. Graciano says that the listeners would be damned for calling their brothers fools because, according to the Christian Bible, whosoever shall call their brothers a fool shall be in danger of hell and fire. Then Graciano goes on to say, I'll tell thee more of this another time, but fish not with this melancholy bait, for this fool gurgeon, this opinion. Come, good Lorenzo, fare ye well, while I'll end my exhortation after dinner. He tells Antonio not to use his melancholy to get a reputation which is unworth having, just like a little fish. He bids Antonio and Bassanio farewell and decides to leave with Lorenzo and complete his spending speech after dinner. To this Lorenzo replies, Well, we'll leave you till dinner time. I must be one of those same dumb wise men, for Graciano never lets me speak. Here he means to say that with Graciano's company he too has turned into one of those dumb wise men who never gets a chance to speak. Graciano replies, Well, keep me company, but 2 years more thou shalt know not the sound of thine own tongue, stating that if Lorenzo stays with him for 2 years or more, he shall forget his own voice. Antonio, fare ye well, I'll grow a talker with this gear. Here he means to say that only and if he stays with Graciano, then Antonio too would become a great talker like him. To this Graciano tells Antonio, Thanks, I faith, for silence is only commendable in a neat's tongue, dried and made not vendible. Here Graciano means to say that only an ox tongue preserved to be eaten and a maid unsold should keep silent. Giving his opinion, Graciano leaves with Lorenzo. Now Antonio is left alone with Bassanio. Antonio, is that anything now? Bassanio, Graciano speaks an infinite deal of nothing, more than any man in all Venice. His reasons are as 2 grains of wheat hid in 2 bushels of chaff. You shall seek all day ere you find them, and when you have them, they are not worth the search. Bassanio tells Antonio that Graciano speaks more than any man in Venice, but his reasons are as 2 grains of wheat hid in 2 bushels of chaff. That is, the main message is hidden in such long speeches that when the listeners find them, the worth of his message, it is not worth the search. Antonio says, Well, tell me now what lady is the same to whom you swore a secret pilgrimage that you today promised to tell me of. This is the first time we get an indirect reference to the Princess of Belmont, that is Portia. Antonio asks Bassanio about his secret pilgrimage to Belmont. The term pilgrimage elevates the character of Portia to that of a goddess, someone who is unattainable and worshipped by many. The next speech of Bassanio reveals a lot about his character and how different he is from Antonio. Bassanio, 'tis not unknown to you, Antonio, how much I have disabled mine estate by something showing a more swelling port than my faint means would grant countenance. So here Bassanio confesses about his damaged estate. He lives in a grand style than his means would permit. Nor do I now make moan to be abridged from such a noble rate. But my chief care is to come fairly off from the great debts wherein my time Something too prodigal hath left me gauged. Bassanio says that he does not moan or complain about being forced to cut down his expenses after living a luxurious life, but his chief concern is to clear his debts which he made in his youth. He compares himself to the prodigal son who took his share, left home, and led a luxurious life. Later, when he was penniless, he returned home to his father, just like Bassanio, who has returned back to Antonio. He tells Antonio, "To you, Antonio, I owe the most in money and in love, and from your love I have a warranty to unburden all my plots and purposes, how to clear of all the debts I owe." Here Bassanio tells Antonio that he knows Antonio loves him and feels that he has the permission to set out before him all his plans to clear his debts. To this Antonio replies, "I pray you, good Bassanio, let me know it, and if it stand, as you yourself still do, within the eye of honour, be assured my purse, my person, my extremest means lie all unlocked to your occasion." Antonio tells Bassanio to disclose the plans. If the plans look honourable, Antonio says that all his wealth lie unlocked in Bassanio's disposal. Bassanio goes on to explain his plans to Antonio by recollecting his childhood incident. He says, "In my childhood days, when I had lost one shaft, I shot his fellow of the self-same flight, the self-same way, with more advised watch to find the other fourth, and by adventuring both, I oft found both." He tells Antonio that in his school days he lost a shaft, and so he shot another in the same direction with the same speed and observed it carefully. This is how he found both. I urge this childhood proof because what follows is pure innocence. I owe you much, and like a wilful youth, that which I owe is lost. So he continues to say that he offers this childhood example because he knows he owes a lot to Antonio. He has already spent a lot of Antonio's money in the name of pure innocence and for a lavish lifestyle. But if you please to shoot another arrow that self way which you did shoot the first, I do not doubt as I will watch the aim, or to find both, or bring your latter hazard back again, and thankfully rest debtor for the first. Here Bassanio finally tells his plan. He wants Antonio to lend him the same amount that he had lent him before. This time he shall carefully observe how he uses the second loan and gratefully remain Antonio's debtor. Antonio is a very humble man. He tells Bassanio, "You know me well, and herein spend but time to wind about my love with circumstance, and out of doubt you do me now more wrong in making question to my uttermost, than if you had made waste of all I have." He means to say that Bassanio knows him well, and he need not waste his time by approaching his love in such indirect way. Bassanio would indeed be more wrong in questioning or doubting his love, because he can do anything for him. "Then do but say to me what I should do, than in your knowledge may by me be done, and I am pressed unto it, therefore speak." Antonio asks Bassanio to tell him what he must do, because he is ready to do anything for him, so he asks him to speak. Bassanio tells Antonio about Portia. In Belmont is a lady richly left, and she is fair, and fairer than the word, of wondrous virtues. Sometimes from her eyes I did receive fair speechless messages. Her name is Portia. Here we come to know about Portia. She is a lady who has inherited great wealth. She is fair and virtuous. Bassanio claims that he received unspoken words from her eyes. Nothing undervalued to Cato's daughter Brutus's Portia, nor is the wide world ignorant of her worth, for the four winds blow in from every corner renowned suitors. According to Bassanio, his Portia was no less than Cato's daughter, Brutus's Portia. Portia was Brutus's wife, who led the conspiracy against Julius Caesar. This is an allusion. Bassanio tells Antonio that suitors from all corners of the world came to win Portia, and her sunny locks hang on her temples like a golden fleece, which makes her seat of Belmont's coaches strand, and many Jasons come to quest her. Bassanio compares Portia's locks to a golden fleece. Jason in the Greek mythology led an expedition to Colchis in search of a golden ram's fleece. Bassanio says that, like Jason, suitors go to Belmont to win Portia, who is the golden fleece. Oh, my Antonio, had I but the means to hold a rival place with one of them, I have a mind presages me such thrift that I should questionless be fortunate. He tells Antonio that because of his damaged estate, he does not have enough means to suit Portia and become a rival to the other suitors. Bassanio decides to win Portia and thereby clear his debts. To this Antonio tells Bassanio, "Thou knowest all my fortunes are at sea, neither have I money nor commodity to raise a present sum. Therefore go forth, try what my credit can do in Venice, that shall be racked even to the uttermost to furnish thee to Belmont to fair Portia." He tells Bassanio that all his investments are presently in the cargo ships. He does not have the money or goods to raise the amount which Bassanio wants. Therefore, he asks Bassanio to arrange for credit from any creditor in Venice, keeping him as security. He is ready to be racked, meaning stretched to any extent, to help his friend Bassanio to win Portia in Belmont. Go presently inquire, and so will I, where money is, and I no question make to have it of my trust or for my sake. Antonio tells Bassanio that he has no doubt that Bassanio will be able to borrow money either formally on his credit or for friendship's sake. Saying this, both Antonio and Bassanio leave. So, this is the end of Act 1, Scene 1. Please like and share your views in the comment section. If you have any doubt, leave it in the comment section. I will definitely reply. And please don't forget to subscribe.